All right, good morning. Good morning. We're here today to talk about one thing, saving lives. Joining me this morning are my colleagues, Alderman Moore, Alderman Cardona, Alderman Lee, Alderman Tabares, Alderman Chico, Alderman Villegas, Alderman Beal, Alderman Mitz, Alderman O'Shea, and Alderman Napolitano. And Alderman Scott and Alderman Riley. Thank you. As well as former Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson, Reverend Donovan Price, and 20th District Council Member, Police District Council Member Carissa Parker. Again, if one life is saved with gunshot technology, then it is absolutely. How can Brandon Johnson, the mayor of the most American of American cities, put a price tag on saving lives? That's exactly what he's doing by not investing in gunshot detection technology and unilaterally allowing this contract to expire. The Freedom of Information Act request by the Chicago Police Department. It shows that from January 2023 through July 31st of this year, which is 14 months, by the way, of the mayor's tenure, 1,976 gunshot victims were identified by a ShotSpotter alert. 1,976. Those were lives saved. This is about saving lives. Period. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call attention to this contract. ShotSpotter sent this to the administration a week ago, extending the service contract through 2025. This offer is a 48% reduction in the fees associated with this technology. How can the mayor ignore this cost savings that will also save lives? I would also like to point out this letter, which was sent by Sound Thinking to the mayor and the city of Chicago and the city council members, clearly stating that if we pass an ordinance today to extend service, despite the time needed to formally engage, ShotSpotter will not be turned off. Their offer is for a 15-month period. As this letter states, it encourages the city of Chicago to use this time to issue an RFP, and ShotSpotter is looking forward to responding in kind. We will be handing out this letter to members of the City Council today so that they can read it for themselves, the offer that has been presented by Sound Thinking. Now, I would like to invite my colleague and friend from the 17th Ward, Alderman David Moore, to the microphone.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Moore. I am the Alderman of the 17th Ward. My community area covers Inglewood, West Inglewood, Auburn, Gresham, and Chicago Lawn, some of the most challenging communities in the city of Chicago. Let me start by saying that the mayor has a right to push policy that he deems necessary. However, we as aldermen have the responsibility to listen to our residents. We also have the responsibility to listen to the person who is responsible for keeping the residents of our community safe, and that's Superintendent Larry Snelling. When people call Trump dangerous, when he flat out lied to the American people, it is equally dangerous when this administration lied to the residents of our city. The administration is entitled to its own opinion, but not its own facts. We should always seek truth for our residents. Saying that we spent $100 million on ShotSpotter is a lie when the facts say $53 million. Saying that they said, whoever they say it is, that ShotSpotter will reduce crime by 50% is a lie. I never heard anyone say that. To say that the 91 lives, let me repeat that. To say that the 91 lives that were saved between January 21st, 2023 and July 31st, 2024 via alerts from ShotSpotter, no 911 calls, that this is just a walkie-talkie on a stick, it's dangerous. The residents have been seeking a democratic process, not a political process. A simple up or down vote to continue a tool that the superintendent of police says he needs. That's all we're trying to do. Interfering with the democracy calls for the superintendent of police, in consultation with the corporation council, to form and legality shall negotiate action technology services. It's assured that current acoustic gunshot bring it up for a vote. Aldermen represent, have a voice in this. This is a passionate about this, as you all know.
Council. I'm a lifelong Southsider, public servant, and mother of adult children who are also public servants, including my son, who is a Chicago police officer. People that know me know that I love Chicago, Morgan Park High School, and most of all, a big cheerleader for my children. In addition to dozens of honorable mentions that my son has earned, he and his team received a life-saving award from the Chicago Police Department. They arrived on the scene of a shooting before paramedics and were able to apply a tourniquet to a victim and saved his life. They were alerted by ShotSpotter. They have, of course, responded to other ShotSpotter alerts and were able to do real police work like apprehend suspects armed with guns, secure crime scenes, and obtain shell casings and other evidence. Hundreds of other officers can give similar stories. Police work is hard. Why in the 21st century would our world-class city not use advanced policing technology to support our first responders? We have an amazing superintendent who is an experienced officer and leader who believes that ShotSpotter is a useful tool. Why, Mayor Johnson, are you ignoring this expertise? And contrary to what this mayoral administration and its allies will have the public believe, there is overwhelming public support for police and keeping ShotSpotter in Black and Latino neighborhoods. And they would know this if they'd intentionally seek to represent their communities. Voters in Chicago are aching for representation that supports, protects, and benefits them. We don't need or want to be over-talked, loud-talked, or prescribed opinions. We also don't need alder people going along to get along with this mayor for personal advancement. Some of them are supporting the mayor on this, knowing good and well that this is a bad idea. Residents of Chicago are tired. They are craving for a quality of life that doesn't require them to go outside, endanger themselves, and look for where gunfire is coming from and then call 911. I have spoken with residents in wards and police districts across the city, and they are angry about the lack of real alternatives and lack of support for our officers. On a recent interview on WTTW, Alderman Hall mentioned that we need to build trust with officers and engage residents. Guess what? Chicagoans elected over 60 people to do that work, and this mayoral administration has failed to meaningfully engage police district councilors in any public safety measures. The core of this opposition to ShotSpotter, now that DNC is over, is that this is a story of pride and ego. There were campaign promises made to get rid of ShotSpotter, similar to the removal of school rules. That decision was also made without the input from elected local school council members. LSC members were not one time consulted with. We cannot allow the mayor and his allies to continue to use selective democracy or campaign donation influence to urge our mayor, members of people who were elected to serve the residents of Chicago to lend themselves to real, open, and honest conversations about policing technology, and admit to residents that research shows that ShotSpotter can save lives. Enough with the sound bites, political rhetoric, and misinformation, and lack of approval of ShotSpotter. Technology is used around the country as an effective period. And AI on CTA is not. Thank you.
It's important to point out that when Joe Ferguson, the city's former Inspector General, wrote a 2021 report on the Chicago Police Department's use of ShotSpotter, he rightly made the point that more data was needed. In a September 14th post on X, formerly known as Twitter, is it a lie for government officials, both appointed and elected, to ignore the evidence and decommission the technology based on now demonstrably false and mistaken narratives? And is it enough to call it a lie when the likely consequence of ignoring neutral, objective, nonpartisan, data-based analysis is that Chicagoans will needlessly die in communities across the city? Needlessly die. I'd now like to call one of our favorite technology and on policing, former Superintendent Eddie Johnson.
Good morning, and thank you all for being here. So, I'm going to be as brief as I can. I want to just state some facts. So, being the superintendent from 2016 to the end of 2019, I was here at the utilization of ShotSpotter. What I can tell you as fact, tool, that's a fact. In it itself we had gotten the murder rate in Chicago under 500. You know how we did that? With the hard work of the men and women of CPD, the hard work of the citizens and community groups in the communities, the hard work of the aldermen, the mayor, the hard work of the clergy and business people. But most importantly, we saw technologies out there that could help us reduce crime. A byproduct of that acoustic system is it did help us reduce crime. When you think about the fact that ShotSpotter, as reported by the University of Chicago, saves around 84 lives a year, I say to you this: we have an obligation to ensure that people on the south side, the west side, the north side, downtown, not just feel safe, but be safe. They are safe. We have an obligation to do that. ShotSpotter is a technology we would be foolish to get rid of. I hope one day, I pray one day we can live in a Chicago that doesn't need that technology. Unfortunately, today is not that day. It just isn't. So if it saves one life, you go to that family and say, yeah, we could have saved them, but we had to give up this technology. You go to that house and tell that family that. I've always been of the mindset you cannot put a price, and you should not put a price on public safety. You shouldn't. We have an obligation to ensure our citizens are safe. So I just encourage the mayor and his administration, please take another look at it. Gather as much data as you can, because remember, one life saved is worth it. Thank you.
I'd like to next call up Pastor Donovan Price.
We're here today, as many have said, because we're trying to save lives. Night after night after night, I spend with the blood on the sidewalk, with the blood on the streets, and we're simply trying to put me out of business. See, if we can save one life, it might be the life of a 5-month-old who gets shot in South Shore in the backseat of her car, or it might be that 11-year-old little boy that I can remember doing his funeral, or it might be the 11-year-old little girl, perhaps it's her, that I remember going to another city to do her funeral and telling her mother, sorry that we were bad babysitters here in Chicago and your baby didn't make it home. See, we're trying to save lives and not trying to save political lives. And that's all I'm here. I'm not a politician. I'm somebody who might need to be friends with the mayor, might need to lean on somebody else. But I can tell you today that ShotSpotter helps save lives. ShotSpotter helps save situations that could go bad, that could go south, people who could cry out, or should I say they can't cry out anymore, thanks to gunfire. And it hurts me so. It hurts me personally when I hear stuff like ShotSpotter was supposed to stop gun violence or lower gun violence. No, we got a mayor to do that. It's such a shame that we have to make this a political thing and about political life instead of about human life. There's a gunfire problem in this city. There's this is, as I said before, should be a no-brainer. But in fact, unfortunately, it's become a no heart a no soul and now a situation where somebody's going to die. And I remember a movie called There Will Be Blood. And if certain people are allowed to make certain decisions without certain common sense, then all I can say is there will be blood. God help us all, and God help the city of Chicago.
I'd like to also point out that we are joined by Alderman Talaferro, Alderman Hopkins. Call up Alderman Villegas.
Thank you. Is that good? Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
34 to 14. 34 to 14. It's very seldom that you get city council on a heated issue to agree on something that just makes common sense. Listen, I chair the Economic, Capital, and Technology Committee, and I'm not a subject matter in public safety. But the city of Chicago hired and confirmed a subject matter hearing in Superintendent Snelling. And when Superintendent Snelling says, colleagues, I need this tool to help with public safety, it's our responsibility to help him deliver on what it is that we hired him to do. Deliver public safety for the residents of Chicago. Technology is going to continue to evolve. License plate readers, drones, helicopters, other technology that hasn't been put forward yet. And we need to embrace that because people in the city of Chicago are calling for, demanding that their quality of life be a good quality of life. So this is common sense legislation. We talk often about saving lives. And so while we're talking about trying to reduce the speed limit from 30 to 25 to save lives, or building protected bike lanes to save lives, which a lot of us support, why isn't that we're taking a look at this technology that the subject matter expert for the city of Chicago has said he needs in order to ensure public safety and a quality of life for the residents of Chicago? Why isn't the administration listening to the person that they hired and we confirmed to deliver on what it is he's being charged to do? So very simple, I want to thank my colleagues for standing together on this. As you can see, this is a very diverse group of aldermen from all parts of the city of Chicago. Because when you poll this question, there's a reason why 70% of the people in Chicago support this. Because it has saved lives. Public safety is the number one issue when you talk to residents. They're not feeling safe. It's impacting businesses in Chicago. It's impacting our reputation in Chicago. We've got to fix that. This is a step forward in doing that, and I urge the administration to take a second look at this and make the right decision. Thank you.
I'd like to call Alderman Beal to the podium, please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let me just say, this group behind me right now is one of the most diverse groups that really make up this entire city. When you look at the people that are behind me, we represent one end of the city to the other, and we're all in support of ShotSpotter. When you look at the mayor is ignoring 34 aldermen that said we want this technology. 34. Well, I tell you what, he wants to compare ShotSpotter to walkie-talkies on a stick. Well, let me just say, the mayor has 30 walkie-talkies on sticks protecting him in his home. If we can just take 40 of those walkie-talkies on a stick, we can pay for the 45% reduction in the contract that ShotSpotter has presented to this administration. Rahm Emanuel only had less than 20 officers protecting him. The same for Mayor Daley. Why is it that all of a sudden we need 130 officers protecting our mayor? You know why? Because you're making decisions that are not conducive to what this city is asking you to do. You're going against the will of the city of Chicago. And so this technology is something that we need, and it doesn't make any sense. It is really confusing me on a day-to-day basis that we are trying to get rid of ShotSpotter. And the more I try to understand why we're trying to get rid of it, it confuses me even more because it defies logic. This defies logic. And the mayor is totally ignoring the will of the people of the city of Chicago. He is listening to the 22% of his approval rating. The 22% of his approval rating are the people that he's listening to. And we know how this story is going to end. So hopefully the mayor gets the message and understands that we need to change course and save this technology. And that's what we're all here to do. Thank you.
I'd like to call up Alderman Tabares.
Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to say a few words in Spanish. ShotSpotter salva vidas, punto. Desde enero de 2023, por 14 meses, han sido 1,976 tiroteos en la ciudad de Chicago. Casi 2,000 tiroteos en la ciudad de Chicago. El alcalde Brandon Johnson está ignorando esos datos porque le está haciendo mucha atención a los activistas que quieren desfinanciar la policía. Pero nosotros, los concejales, estamos unidos y vamos a seguir luchando para mantener ShotSpotter para salvar vidas en la ciudad. Gracias. And with that, I'll turn it back to Ray Lopez.
Exactly what she said. In closing, I just want to point out that on May 22nd, my colleagues here, as Alderman Villegas stated, passed an order 34-14 to have CPD produce data, and that Mayor Johnson must come to the City Council if he intends to remove funding from gunshot detection technology. The mayor has chosen not to follow the second part of that order. We stand here today, united on behalf of those that we represent, demanding that the data that we've seen be used. Facts do not lie. Mayor Johnson, we call on you to help us save lives. We call on you to stand for the victims. And I challenge you personally to go to the first person who killed his family and tell them that it was your decision to remove the technology that could have saved his or her life. Tell me you're willing to do that, and I'll believe that you're willing to take this today. With that, we'll open it up for questions, but I know we're also...
We are prepared to go to the courts. Alderman Hopkins, Chairman of the Public Safety Committee. We're prepared to go to the courts if necessary, but the call on the mayor to do the right thing, to yield to a clear majority of the city council, to yield to a clear majority of public opinion in the city, could save us that court battle. We hope that's the course of action we will take. If everyone in this room knows that we have that means the tie goes to the legislative branch. This isn't necessarily a tie, but it's a dispute between the two branches of government here, and we understand that. This is rather unprecedented for an order like the one that you just heard. We've looked to city council history, and the real scenario today. So if we wind up in front of a judge, we have a very strong case to make, and ultimately we will prevail. But the easy course of action is for the mayor to do the right thing and renew the ShotSpotter contract, acknowledge the city council's actions, acknowledge the will of the city of Chicago. That will save us all a lot of time and legal fees.